So the Packers actually broke their streak of not drafting wide receivers in the first round with pick number 23, drafting wide receiver from Texas, Matthew Golden. I was shocked to see this actually happen. He was sitting there available, and it felt like what we've seen in years past, the Packers would probably not pick a receiver. When you see them for years and years decide not to go after a receiver since 2002 in the first round, you assume, or I assumed, that would happen once again. And even though they met with a ton of receivers, I thought, are the Packers really going to draft a receiver round one? I feel like in years past, you start to convince yourself maybe this is the year. And then every single year, it's like it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And so me going into this draft, I just sort of assumed it wouldn't happen, even if a guy was there like Matthew Golden. But Brian Gutekunst and the Packers front office, the Packers staff, decide to pick up and draft Matthew Golden. So I didn't see this coming. I thought they may go cornerback round one. I thought they'd probably most likely go defensive player, defensive lineman, edge rusher. But to see them actually go after a receiver, this is very exciting. This is something that I think a lot of us Packers fans have been wanting to see for a long time, just first round receiver. And we finally get our wish. So Matthew Golden, 5'11", 191 pounds, 4.29 40. So he is insanely fast. Insanely talented receiver at Texas. And let me just read a short excerpt here from Dane Brugler of The Athletic, the Beast draft guide. He says, a one-year starter at Texas, Golden was the Z receiver and head coach Steve Sarkisian's RPO Pro style spread offense and was used across the formation with heavy motions, 76.1% of snaps wide, 23.9% in the slot. After two promising seasons in Houston's air raid scheme, he was an underrated addition for the Longhorns in 2024, improved especially valuable when it mattered most, averaging 102.8 receiving yards over his final 4 games. Fluid in and out of his breaks, Golden shows a plan as a route runner. I love his ability to break down corners by keeping his eyes, hips, and feet in sync. That coordination also translates to the catch point with his very natural ball skills to track, frame, and finish. Overall, it might bother some teams that he doesn't have better size, but Golden also doesn't have any glaring flaws to his game that would keep him from becoming a productive pro. He can play inside or outside and become the go-to target for an NFL offense. And so now when you think about this Packers offense, I really do like the receivers the Packers have. I think that they have a lot of talent. I think last year, there's no doubt there was a ton of issues with drops, specifically with Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, and with Christian Watson's ACL injury, that really did shift things, I think, for the Packers because he was starting to play pretty solid, hadn't been dealing with as many injuries the past year, and then he goes down with the ACL injury. And so without having him having that deep speed to really keep defenses honest, it did feel like the Packers would probably need to add someone there with some speed. They signed McCole Hardman, but I didn't think that was something that would really necessarily be super impactful heading into 2025. And so now with Matthew Golden on this roster, I think the Packers are totally loaded at receiver. You have a guy who runs a 4.29 40, and you combine him out there with Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs. This is going to be a really, really solid receiver core, which I already think was pretty solid in its own right. And I think, with Christian Watson gone, until he comes back, later in the season, you're without that guy, the guy who can sort of open things up in the deep passing game. And that's something that Matthew Golden can do. Last year, looking at some of his stats, he was 8th in college football in deep receptions, 14th in deep yards. So with that 4.29 speed, he is going to open things up for this Packers offense. And even though he's not the size of a Christian Watson, who's closer to 6'4", he's 5'11", but he has that speed. He's an insanely talented route runner, and he's someone that Jordan Love is going to be able to really rely on. And so I didn't think we'd see a first-round receiver for the Packers. I thought maybe round 2, round 3, something like that could happen. But Gutekunst and the Packers, the fact that they are willing to draft Golden in round 1 shows how much they like him, how much they trust him, because they have not been a team to really reach on receivers in round 1. And so the fact that they actually drafted one shows me that they really have a ton of confidence in Matthew Golden and what he can be in the NFL. And I think looking ahead to the next few years, there are some questions at receiver. This is going to be Christian Watson's final year of his rookie deal, Romeo Doubs' final year of his rookie deal. And so now having Matthew Golden in here, It gives the Packers some, you don't have to pay. I mean, at the end of the year, they're going to have to make a decision. Do they want to pay Christian Watson? Do they want to pay Romeo Doubs? And the wide receiver market has gone crazy with Jamar Chase making about $40 million per year. And so when you're having to make that decision, when it comes to paying Christian Watson, paying Romeo Doubs, if you didn't draft a receiver, you may be more likely having to pay those guys just because, you need to have, solid receivers there around Jordan Love. And now with Matthew Golden here, it does give you some more flexibility. I don't think you're going to be quite as forced to pay a guy something maybe you don't think they deserve necessarily, potentially. And you're not going to have to pay Matthew Golden a lot of money for the next few years. And so you're saving a lot of money there at the wide receiver position. And so at the end of 2025, the Packers now, I think, with Christian Watson's ACL injury, it's unfortunate. But now with the guy who has that kind of speed, maybe you move on from Christian Watson at the end of the season and maybe you keep Romeo Doubs. And so I just think now to have another receiver there on a cheap rookie deal, it just gives the Packers a lot of flexibility heading into the next couple of years. But this is really exciting. I was shocked to actually see Matthew Golden selected. And the fact that he was sitting there, it almost felt like, I doubt the Packers do it. And they actually finally decide to go wide receiver. So I really like this selection. I thought that defensive line was probably a bigger need in my mind. I still think they needed to get a receiver. I didn't think it was necessary round one, but I have no problem with this. This is an exciting pick. I feel like lots of times in round one, the Packers go offensive lineman, and I feel like with the offensive line, you understand it's a good pick. It's necessary. It's not super exciting, but this is a pick where, I don't think it was the biggest need. It's a player that's going to very much, help the Packers, help Jordan Love as he continues to grow as a quarterback in the NFL. He's someone that is going to really, open things up for the other receivers like Romeo Doubs, like Jaden Reed, like tight end Tucker Kraft. When you have a guy like Golden who can separate like he does, who can get open like he does, who has that speed, it's just going to make everyone better in this Packers offense. So this is a fun pick, fun selection. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any Packers draft content, and I'll see you guys next time.